Don't forget to subscribe, and turn on notifications. We upload daily, and check the source of this video to view all the images and videos if there was any. Image copyright Getty Images. Image caption: The president's supporters took to the streets of Istanbul to celebrate. Turkey's long-standing leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan has won the country's presidential poll in the first round, the election authority chief says. Sadi Guven said the president received the absolute majority of all valid votes, but gave no further details. State media reports put Mr. Erdogan on 53% with 99% of votes counted, and his closest rival Muharrem Ince on 31%. The opposition is yet to officially concede but said it would continue its democratic fight, whatever the result. It had earlier cast doubt on results being broadcast by state media. Final results will be announced on Friday. Mr. Erdogan said the governing alliance of his AK party had secured a majority in parliament. Turkey has given a lesson in democracy to the entire world, he said. Under Turkey's new constitution, due to come into force after the election, the president will hold considerable power. Some critics argue the enhanced role will see too much power accumulated in one person's hands, and that Turkey lacks the checks and balances of other executive presidencies such as France or the United States. With 96% of the votes for parliament counted, the president's AK party leads with 42% of the votes, the state news agency Anadolu reports. The main opposition CHP is on 23%. Turkey's electoral board confirmed that the pro-Kurdish HDP has reached the 10% threshold needed to enter parliament. Before the vote, analysts said this might make it harder for Mr. Erdogan's party and its ally the MHP to reach a majority, although currently they are on course to do so. Voter turnout was high, at almost 87%, the state broadcaster reported. "I hope nobody will try to cast a shadow on the results," Mr. Erdogan said. There are reports that CHP presidential candidate Mr. Ince has admitted defeat in a message to a journalist, though this has not been confirmed. Skip Twitter post by @SelingGirit President #Erdogan heads to Ankara to give a balcony speech. Main challenger #Muharrem Ince reportedly just conceded defeat via a WhatsApp message to a reporter, saying, "It wasn't a fair race but I accept that Mr. Erdogan has won," adding that he'd make a statement tomorrow. @SelingGirit June 24, 2018 report. Earlier on Sunday he accused state-run news agency Anadolu of manipulation over its reporting of vote share figures. He said he would only comment where the official results had been announced. Why does this election matter? These elections were originally scheduled for November 2019 but were brought forward by Mr. Erdogan. The new president will be first to govern under the new constitution, endorsed in a tight referendum last year by 51% of voters. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: Does it matter who's in charge of Turkey? While the other candidates have rejected the changes, Mr. Erdogan would start his second term in a turbocharged version of the job. The job of Prime Minister would be scrapped and the president is set to gain new powers, including the ability to directly appoint senior officials and the power to intervene in the legal system. Who is standing for president? Mr. Erdogan, whose party is rooted in Islamism, was prime minister for 11 years before becoming president in 2014. He has moved to consolidate his power after a failed coup against his rule in 2016. Turkey has been under a state of emergency ever since, with 107,000 public servants and soldiers dismissed from their jobs. More than 50,000 people have been imprisoned pending trial since July 2016. Should he win, centre-left Mr. Ince has promised to push back against what he has characterized as a slide into authoritarian rule under Mr. Erdogan. But the incumbent has accused the former physics teacher of not having the skills to lead. Image copyright AFP Image caption: Muharrem Ince is known for his fiery campaigning. There were another 4 candidates on the presidential ballot, none of whom looks to have performed particularly strongly. If Mr. Erdogan is not declared to have won more than 50% in the official results, he and Mr. Ince will face off in a second-round vote on the 8th of July. Image copyright AFP. Is the vote likely to be fair? Security was tight at polling stations. Ahead of the vote, concerns were raised about potential voter intimidation and electoral fraud. Turkey's election commission has already said it will investigate alleged irregularities in Urfa province, on the southern border with Syria. Mr. Ince said he would be spending the night at the Electoral Commission's headquarters in Ankara to ensure a fair count. In a tweet, he asked election observers not to leave the ballot boxes. Mr. Ince said the commission's system was reporting that far fewer boxes had been opened than state news agencies had announced. Rights activists also say the press is not free to report on all sides. Under Mr. Erdogan's rule, the country has become the world's biggest jailer of journalists, according to monitoring groups. But Mr. Erdogan said Turkey was giving a lesson to the rest of the world in how democratic elections should be run. What have been the main election issues? The biggest is the economy. The Turkish lira has tanked and inflation stands at around 11%. Terrorism is another vexed issue, as Turkey faces attacks from Kurdish militants and the jihadists of the Islamic State group. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: Turkey's economy is the biggest election issue. This is the story of farmer Metin Çelik. However, correspondents say the country tends to vote along its big divides, one between Kurds and nationalists, and another between religious and secular people.